Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 173 of the income stream. Today we're doing a little fun take on the Q&A, and I want you to, whatever questions you might have, I want you to frame them this way. Pat, if you were a blank, how would you blank? And the reason why I'm doing this is because this is one of my favorite questions to answer when I'm on a podcast, and it always gets me to think. It really gets me to think, and also puts context into the different answers that I put out there for you. So we did a fun little casual Q&A today. Today, a little bit more framed, but something different. I like to experiment. I like to mix things up for you, and I appreciate you for being here. If you're here live with me today, here on Labor Day, here in the US, thank you so much for taking time out of your holiday to join me. Today's a special day. It's also my daughter's birthday, and she gave me permission to come in here and still do this with you. So we still got the streak going. If she didn't want me to do it, it's her day. We're going to do whatever she wants. Well, to a point, because we can't really do much outside of the house, but we're going to treat her special. We're going to live stream later on and play some games over on our Twitch channel. But it is my daughter's 8th birthday, which is really exciting here. And that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today in the Flynn household. But today I wanted to spend this hour with you. And if you're watching the replay, use the hashtag team replay in the comments to let me know you're watching. And again, I appreciate you for being here. Let's have some fun and let's enjoy the show. Here we go.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Awesome. So great stuff today. Again, thank you so much for being here. If you were a blank, how would you blank? That's how I want you to frame your questions today, and I'm going to get through as many of these as possible. I think this also is challenging for you to come up with the right fill in the blanks too, because you're likely going to be positioning it for a question related to you. Well, how would you describe you, right? How would you describe the problem or the challenge that you are having? This is really going to be helpful, and I think it's going to be a nice way to sort of set up the Q&A today. So again, I appreciate you for being here. We're going to have some fun. Thank you again. And again, make sure you hit subscribe and hit that bell notification icon if you haven't already. Big thanks to all the members here. I appreciate you. And I already see a question coming in today from Grandma Goody. So let's start out with Grandma Goody. Pat, if you are a kids video creator on YouTube, how would you accommodate the restrictions? So the way that I would get around the restrictions is there's restrictions, right? This is called COPA, the Child Online Protection Act. And this is something that YouTube creators who are specifically targeting kids have a big problem with. It allows for not commenting. It allows for not being able to be found in certain ways and things like that. The way that I would really hone in on my strategy if I were a kids YouTube creator would be to try as much as possible to collaborate with other people who also have audiences that align as well. So if I were you, Grandma Goody, I would definitely go out there and find out who else is a character, for example, on YouTube that is supporting kids or for kids, and doing some collaborations or videos together, even if it's a side-by-side Zoom video. That video where there's some fun interaction and collaboration, it can mix it up for both channels and of course cross-promote both channels as well. So this may take you finding other people, and I would imagine that there could be some fun people who you could speak to who are likely putting on characters as well online that would be just fun to jam with, I think. And you could probably learn a lot from each other. That's kind of how I would go about doing that. Cool. April here. April, thank you. I saw your message earlier about not coming in as a result of the new time. And as much as that makes me sad, I'm just so happy that you're here today. And whenever you can make it in, we love and, of course, welcome you. Thank you for allowing Daddy to invest time with us on your special day. I'll let her know. Thank you. Let's see. Gabriella just did a 4-mile bike ride and shot hoops for an hour. That's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of hot over here, so I wouldn't recommend going outside to shoot some hoops, at least till the evening hour and golden hour. So it is quite warm here, and we were trying really hard yesterday to make the best of it. We did go outside a couple times, mostly to take plants outside and bring them indoors or into our patio, because they would have just been burnt to a crisp for sure. All right, Susan, if you were creating seasonal content, how would you get it out there? So the beauty of seasonal content is that every new season, you can make a big deal about it, right? So there's seasonal content in the sense of you purposefully making seasons. For example, if you have a podcast, you can in fact create seasons. Season 1 of your show, season 2 of your show, and you can have them be, 10, 12, 15 episodes long. And that means you have a nice break in between, and then you come back and you come back strong. Now, in many cases, certain niches, for example, the Halloween niche or Christmas or school or whatever, these are seasons of the year as well that, again, every time it comes around, we can make a big deal out of it. I think the other best thing to do would be to, as the season is coming about, get people hyped up, get people excited. We've had an income stream about creating excitement for something coming up. That's the beauty of these seasonality things. It's not a constant throughout the year. It's a moment of the year that we can lead up to, make a big deal of, and all those kinds of things. And we want to get people to know that we are going to be talking or actually providing a lot of value during that time. So work ahead of time, like we talked about, pick that date when you're going to make an announcement of some kind or come out with something new. Reverse engineer that and have some time in between now and then to build hype, build an email list, get people excited about it, figure out a contest, giveaway, collaborations, etc., to make as big of a deal about that as possible. And then off season doesn't mean you're off for the whole time. It means you're either working and planning for the next year or even working with people who were once customers or people who are in your brand on different things that you can offer. For example, I know there's some people who, I'm trying to think of, there's a person I know who does a lot of Christmas related things, but then they turn into somebody who can offer similar products during other holidays like Easter and whatnot. And so finding other things in between seasons to keep people going and continue that value can be a great thing to do. Xavier, Pat, if you had challenges with how you write copy, how would you focus on improving that skill? I would, number one, find a copywriter that I really, really love as a mentor that I can just follow and absorb as much information as possible. Whether I invest in their course or not, doesn't matter. Whenever I'm trying to get good at something, I always try to find somebody who's already good at it. That way I can literally just like download their information and just, bro, I'm like right there. I've avoided the mistakes that this person has made, and I'm learning sort of with them, whether I get direct mentorship or just virtual mentorship, even just reading their books, reading their content. That would be step number one, so that way I can have a framework, a person who I can learn from. Number two, I would practice. Practice makes perfect, and even though you'll never be perfect, none of us are, practice gets you better. I know that a lot of people who do copywriting, in fact, write out their sales pages and practice by writing, like pen to paper, because it just gets that part of the brain flowing. And there's just a lot of practices within copywriting that are really interesting. I would also follow Prerna Malik, Prerna. She is, in fact, my copywriter for a lot of my courses, and she at Content Bistro has a lot of great free information to help you as well. So she might be the person that you might be looking toward. But to get better, you just got to practice. And I would just write sales page after sales page after sales page, get that going. And it's going to be a grind, right? But whether you use those sales pages or not, every time, every iteration you write a sales page and you get in tune with what makes a great sales page and how to use words. Most people aren't great at copy, but that's a skill that you can learn. And that's the biggest thing that you have to realize. Aquanut Pool Care. If you had a boring topic, how would you make it fun and entertaining? This is great. Now, there's a guy named Matt who I know is in your space in pool care who has made these videos fun and entertaining. And he's not necessarily like the funniest guy ever, but he definitely steps into trying to provide entertainment along with his quote unquote boring topic, right? So I think entertainment can come in many different forms. It can come in, holy crap, I got the information I need right here. That's kind of entertaining because you're saving people time. It's a different kind of entertainment, but that is a value, right? But entertainment or infotainment can be great too. As you're providing this information, don't be afraid to try different things with maybe the videos that you have coming out or the way that you write or certain images that you use. There has to be something, and I really appreciate this question because some of us feel like we have boring topics, but we are in fact the ones making it boring when every topic, I imagine, can have some sort of interest to them. I think stories are a great part of any process of making things more entertaining as well. I'm sure you have some interesting customer care stories or interesting product horror stories, right? Like you could probably create a video of a person who put way too much chlorine in their pool and tell the story about that. And that would in it of itself be a great lesson and also entertaining and maybe a little bit sad. But that way you can sort of share a story and have it be something that people can relate to more than just here are 5 ways to take care of your pool, for example. guys like this framework? I kind of like this. It makes me think of, okay, if I were doing that, what would I do? And I can sort of push that forward to you. Let me know if this framework works well for you, because we can continually do it again every once in a while. Probably not a weekly thing, but just, I kind of like it. Gif Biz says, Sue says, if you were doing 2 times a week Facebook Lives, how and where would you repurpose first? Full session or only highlights? Well, the full session is going to be recorded there already, right? So you can at least download that full length video. And if you wanted to, you could probably pop it in somewhere that would best receive that full length video. So maybe it's YouTube, for example, or some other platform. Maybe it gets repurposed in a membership community that you have, for example. That way it's just easily and nicely stored in there. There's other ways to repurpose, even not publicly, but even privately for your own people. Secondly, taking those highlights, again, whatever it is you choose to do or wherever it is that you choose to repost these things, make a system. You want to develop what's called an SOP, or standard operating procedure. Cannot stress how important this is when you get to it, because we need to have these systems in place so that we can just, as we continually do it over and over again, we can become more efficient. Or you can get to the point where you hand these things off to somebody else, right? If that makes sense. So I like this idea of like, okay, well, what do I do with it? I think the most important thing is that when you start, however you choose to do it, there's going to be no right answer. You're going to try something and see what works and what doesn't. But after you see something work, focus more effort on that, learn more about that, try to hone in and be efficient with that, and try not to spread yourself too thin. This is the biggest thing I see with repurposing, is people spread themselves too thin. They spend more time repurposing and sharing on platforms. Like I remember going to this conference once and seeing a list of all the things this person did after they wrote a blog post. It was like 70 things. And it just was so overwhelming, from all the social media platforms, all the little cuts they have to do, all just the quotes, the cards on Instagram. It was just so much stuff. And it was just like, how are you going to keep this up every time you write a blog post? Why not pick the 5 things in that list of 70 that are working best for you? Just do those. Let the other things go. Do more of what works. And you're going to be that much more likely to continue doing that moving forward. And that's going to be the best advice I can give you. AV says, if you were a teen with all the knowledge you have now, how would you take advantage of your circumstances? If I was a teen, in fact, I think that a lot of young people have such a huge advantage. Not just the fact that they are young and they have more time, and you have the ability to take risks and have less to lose, essentially. That's something that Gary Vaynerchuk often offers younger people, teenagers, like, now's your time to take chances, to take risks, to try certain things, because if you fail, you're not going to fail really far. And this is your time to try to experiment, to find out who you are and what your voice is. But if I knew everything that I know now, but I was only 18, for example, I would probably try to combine my interest with something, whatever I'm interested in, that I can just continually get excited about, to try and become the best at, for example, or learn as much about, and combine that with one platform and just go all in with that and try and experiment and do things like that. There's a guy named Liam over in New Zealand who was supposed to go to engineering school, right? And I would still, whether or not I would still go to college or not, it depends. It depends on if where I want to go actually matches. And if in fact I still wanted to do architecture, then I would probably still go to school. I don't use much of what I did and learn at school, but a lot of actually the most beneficial things at school were, number 1, learning how to network with people. Number 2, time management and organization. Number 3, life skills like laundry and cooking. Number 4, what it was like to essentially just be on my own and make adult decisions. So in that case, college was still absolutely worth it, in my opinion. And of course, connections with people who led me to the job that I had, that led me to the career that I had, that led me to the getting laid off, that led me into everything else, like a whole butterfly effect certain situation, right? But I would probably pick one platform, probably YouTube, and go all in with it, right? And hustle with networking, hustle with getting to know who is it in that space, and who should I get to know, and how can I help them? Doing a very D-Rock sort of situation, finding an influencer out there, or a leader or authority in that space, and doing what I can to serve them. D-Rock is, or was, Gary Vaynerchuk's video person who filmed him doing Ask Gary V, literally just for free to start. And then he became his go-to person, is now leading the social media team over at Team Gary. So yeah. Cool. Let's see. Great questions. Looking for more questions. Here we go. OMG, had this on in the background and the sound was off, says Lowell. All good. Kind of need the sound to get the value here. Rhino says, Pat, if you weren't laid off from your architecture job, what would you be doing today? If I wasn't laid off, I would probably still be doing architecture. And I'd probably be going through a tough time right now, for sure, because nobody's spending money on buildings or anything like that. I guarantee you, if I hadn't gotten let go, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur. I needed that push off in order to do it. I didn't have a plan B because I actually just wanted to do architecture for the rest of my life. I even went back to architecture even after I started my online business. I couldn't imagine life without it. And it wasn't until I fully let go of that I then discovered this completely amazing world of online business where I had a lot more control, a lot more freedom, a lot more capability, a lot more recognition, a lot more upside. So yeah, the layoff, which was a very tough time in my life, right after I proposed to my girlfriend, now my wife, April, it was the best thing that could ever happen. I celebrate that day every year, June 17th, 2008, Let Go Day. Sue, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you for that so much. Continuing to donate to teachers and supporting them by buying everything on their wish lists if they are paying out of pocket for their stuff. So Sue, thank you so much for that. All right, GovKid says, if you were in the rare situation where there is not a lot of competition in your niche, but there are a lot of people who need help, how would you approach serving them? I would try to look for people who are in circles, one circle out of my immediate niche, right? So for example, if I was really into, specifically gluten-free nutrition advice for the elderly, right? And maybe I'm the only person who talks about it in that way. Like that's cool. I have a niche within a niche. Well, let me go one circle out and go, okay, well, now I'm going to talk to the gluten-free community. I'm going to try to be a guest on a gluten-free related nutrition podcast or a gluten-free related fitness podcast. And I'm going to still come at it with my angle of if you are over 50, but that's my unique superpower within that space. So now I'm sort of like going one ring out to bring more of those people into my ring, if that makes sense. And even though those people, smaller percentage, are going to fit my audience, that's where you find the new people who have yet to find you and see that, oh, you exist in this space, and that's great. So perhaps there could be, I know you do and help people with government contracts and government jobs and things like that. There could be perhaps some just general career-related channels here, and I guarantee you there are, and how government careers can be a great opportunity and how to go into that space if you are just not knowing how that works, right? So you can sort of go one ring out to come and bring more people in. And then if I was sort of, again, the only person talking about something, I would get deep into who those people are, what are their names, what are their needs. I want to know their names and stories and their challenges and struggles, the language that they use over that sort of thing. Remodel Media says, wait, over 50 is elderly? I mean, I don't know. I think 50 can be young. It depends on how you treat your body, right? So I don't know, did I save myself there? Age is just a number, my friend. Hey, yo, Gabrielle Vargas, I'd love to hear your voice so I can imagine it. Maybe message with a voice on Instagram. Oh, cool. Love the connections happening. Peasant Uprising. If you were a website owner aimed at helping people better their lives, how would you both help people and making enough money to go full-time? So one more time. If you were a website owner aimed at helping people better their lives, so I had a brand, I was helping people with personal development, how would you help people and make enough money to go full-time? Yeah, I gotta watch what I say here. By the way, I don't think 50 is old, trust me. My dad's almost 80, he's still young. And sometimes I feel old, especially when I'm coaching teenagers, right? It's all relevant. If you're a website owner aimed at helping people better their lives, how would you both help people and make enough money to go full-time? Number one, I think especially when it comes to living a better life, if you will, people love seeing examples of others doing it too. So I would do what I can to tell the best stories possible. I found a gardening channel yesterday that blew me away because simply he's not a pro gardener yet, but he's got some great storytelling. And because of that, I got hooked in. So storytelling, again, a key here, and it's a keystone motif that we see here often on the income stream, which is how important and how powerful storytelling is, right? So I would try to get it into as much as possible telling the stories of people who are going through similar battles and bouts as my target audience, and maybe even highlighting the stories of my target audience to bring more of that community together. And then in terms of going full time, I would probably start by going 1 inch wide, 1 mile deep with that audience, meaning maybe not creating an online course that's going to try and reach everybody right away. Maybe not writing a book that's going to reach everybody right away, but finding the few within that audience who likes the way that I have been able to take these stories and help people through processes and want that specific accountability and advice for themselves. So meaning, let's just get a couple clients. And I would also reverse engineer what my number is and figure out what I need to do from there. So if my number is, for example, $60,000 a year, then I just need, certain number of people paying a certain number of money. And again, you can pull the levers one way or another. But what would be the math on that? $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. If I had 5 clients paying $1,000 a month for coaching, or 10 paying $500, right? That like literally 10 clients. That's it. You don't need that much. And that's where I would start. And then I would scale outward from there, if that makes sense. April says, if you were the ultimate contrarian among your peers and your approach was recommended by absolutely no one, how would you proceed? Would you give up, pivot, or stay the course and change nothing? That's great. I think that's a huge advantage. If literally everybody else is doing things one way and you're the only one doing it another way, like, go full force with that. There is a website that I found the other day. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up for y'all. Let's see. Trying to find, hold on. Where did I go? No, it's not there. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is from a person named Maddie, in fact, who I interviewed not too long ago. This is her brand here. I'm going to go to the homepage. This is her business. Welcome to the Bad A Quilter Society. The quilting community does not generally enjoy her stuff because it can sound and come off very immature, very crude at times, but she has embraced that. Maddie has gone, you know what? Then you're not for me. I'm the quilter who's bringing in the other folk who want to be different, who aren't the stay at home and knitting all day watching, Price is Right type of people, but like, we're out and about, we're killing it in life, and we're also quilters. And she's embraced that. And so that would be my advice for you, would be to, that's your superpower, yo. And yes, you might upset a few people here and there, but that's what you need to lean into. That's what the signals are telling you. And that's, in fact, what I would do. Wherever everybody else is, you want to be in the other place, if that makes sense. Question. If you were a YouTuber with only 20 videos, yet serving people to DIY their ultimate outcome, how would you transition into offering a paid program in a non-ick way? The way that I would, so the number of videos that you have doesn't necessarily matter, right? It's who do you know already who's watching these videos? So I would try to get people on an email list from a place of service. Maybe that means you have to create a free lead magnet of some kind to, maybe it's a free 1-page worksheet to help them understand what their goals might be. And anybody who downloads that, you know where they're at. You know that they want to know how to get and achieve their goals. And then now that you have their email list, get to know who they are as a real person and try to understand what they might need help with. And then I would take the Smart from Scratch / Will It Fly approach. Those are my Smart from Scratch is my program. It's in fact free right now. Still, we've given away nearly $4 million worth of that course right now. smartpassiveincome.com /toolkit, or you can read my book, Will It Fly, which will kind of teach you the same process without the videos and stuff. But the transition to paid program means if you want this to be non-icky, you want the paid program to be something that people are kind of already asking for. So the way that you get there is to really hone in on what the pains and problems of these particular audience members are, and just go, hey, I'm building this for you right now. And it just becomes a natural part of the conversation, right? If you feel like you need to hire the best copywriters in the world, if you feel like you really need to, use all the black hat marketing tactics, and I'm not saying you're going to do that or even thought about doing that, but a lot of people do. They're like, I have a product, I really need to fit this into my audience. Then you're almost kind of doing it wrong. You need to find the audience and build the product that works for them. And when you do that, the product and what you sell just becomes a natural part of the conversation. Oh, by the way, yes, you have this problem. Great. Here's some free stuff to help you. Here's some videos. But by the way, if you want to go deeper, here's something that can help you. Oh, why do I have to pay for it? Because I put a lot of time and resources into this. This is in fact thousands of hours of my experience put into this program. So it actually saves you time. You would be spending more money if you went to college to learn this stuff, if you had to go and read all those books, if you had to watch all those podcasts, all those hours I put in here so you don't have to make the same mistakes. If you don't have the money to invest in that, that's totally fine. Here is some free content to help you too. But I want to help those who are investing in themselves here too. And I'm going to be spending more time and actually giving and offering more access to me there as well. See you, Dawn. Thanks so much for being here. I like this from Remodel Media. I would have never thought things like toilets and showers would be interesting to others, but I made the content and it seems to be working. People like it. Awesome. That's great. Don, before you go, if you're still here, if you were a song and kids curriculum creator, how would you get your lessons and songs in front of pre-K teachers, parents, and administrators? I would absolutely take advantage of pay teachers and try to find some people who are either influential there and connect with them, or even create my own account there and start to learn anything and everything I can about teachers, pay teachers. You want to go to where your audience is going to get stuff. And that's a place where audiences are going to get stuff. And they're in fact paying for it. And I know a lot of teachers who are making 6 figures a year, making more money creating curriculums and posting them on Teachers Pay Teachers versus actually their own paying jobs. And so in fact, a lot of teachers I know have quit or either took a break to go full time with Teachers Pay Teachers. Boris, thank you so much for the happy birthday. Appreciate that. GTO, if you were asked to repeat the name of your friend, the copywriter, how would you best like to be asked? Maybe like that. Prerna, Prerna, but it's like prayer now, but Prerna, Malik, Malik, over at contentbistro.com. So to answer your question, the very same way that you did it. What's your view on demand webinars? On-demand webinars as funnel sales tool, still great or done to death? I think it's only done to death when you see it and it's not relevant to what people are actually needing. We're seeing it maybe from our end, Dan, because we are in this space. We see the funnels and other people cannot. So just because you see it out there doesn't necessarily mean it won't work. The best advice would be to try and test it, or even you can probably even micro test this in a way where people can, after they get into a funnel, click to get on a essentially wait list for something that you have yet to create, just to even see if there's any interest for an on-demand video like that. Hey, if you want a video about this, one will be dropping in your inbox very soon. Click here to make sure you receive it, or subscribe here to make sure you get it, or however you want to track that. You could validate it before you do it, in fact, just to kind of see if people even want this thing or not, which is, I love that because it's like removing the guesswork as much as possible. But in entrepreneurship, you have to guess educatedly every once in a while, and It's worked for us, and it still continues to work for many people too. I think as long as the reason to click play and watch that on-demand webinar makes sense to where they came from and perhaps what they already got access to and where they want to go, then it can absolutely work for sure. Xavier, if you had been participating in Facebook groups but went silent for a while, how would you recommend starting engagement again? So if this is within Facebook groups that you're already a part of, then I would just say, just get back in the conversation. Don't make a huge deal about it. You don't have to go, hey guys, I'm back. And you don't have to go that way. Just get back into the conversation, and people are going to go, hey, welcome back. And some people are just going to think that you were there the whole time. Just kind of continually engage. And what I would do is really try to hone in on a strategy for how much time per day or per week are you going to dedicate to that. And if it's indeed something you want to do and you have some things that you can measure later as a result of that, then actually bake it into your schedule. 15 minutes a day, getting involved, just answering questions, getting in there, prompting questions, serving people, those kinds of things can go a very, very long way for sure. If this is a Facebook group that you've owned and it went dormant for a little bit, what you could do is sort of bring a new set of people in and make a big deal about it, almost like an event, maybe run a contest. You might have to wake up some people in there. And unfortunately, because it's been dormant for a while, if this is a group that you've owned, it's going to take some time for things to get kicking again. But the more people that you can get fired up about this thing that's been dormant for a while, meaning a specific reason to comment, engage, and participate again, then that could work out really, really well. Thank you for the thumbs up, everybody. I appreciate you for that. Love what Stacy said here. Yes, Pat, I always tell people college is not just to get a degree. It's for networking, life skills, socialization, getting to know who you are as a person apart from your family. 100% Stacy. I love that. Jan says, if you were starting with content creation today, which type of content would you focus on creating? Video, podcast, or written? It would probably be one or the other, video or podcast. And it kind of depends on the topic and also some research within that space. Who might I want to connect with? Who's in that space? Who I think I can get access to? Who or where might there be some holes that I can fill? What is also more fun, or what can I imagine doing more of or getting excited to wake up in the morning to do? I would only pick one to start, though. And I say that really, really blatantly because I have done everything, right? I have a blog, I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I've done speaking, I've written books, I've done virtual events, all those sorts of things. I put on my own event, and people see that and they're like, oh, I need to do all those things too. Not right away, though. You shouldn't ever try to do more than one of those things at a time. It would behoove you not to just pick one and just focus on it and go all in. Learn everything you can about it. Don't worry about learning about anything else from there. That's really key. So focus on one, whatever it is, then just like go all in with it. Learn it to the max. Find out, get information from others, and learn about that. And Aquanut, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate you for that. All right, let's keep going here. Naval says, if you would have started your blog from zero, how would you plan your things like for the first month or 3 months and so on? So starting out my blog, or literally any platform, I would try to imagine what the first 3 months of content would be like, right? Dude, I like the emojis, the behoove emojis. That's cool. So starting a new blog, I would try to come up with maybe 20 pieces, 25 pieces of content that I could create. Not going to say I'm going to create them all right away, but just so I can have an understanding of what my roadmap might be, what I might want to talk about. I would do a little bit of research to understand what these topics are and whatnot. And let me take a sip of coffee. There we go. And also what I would do is try to understand, okay, well, who else is in this space? In fact, here's what I would do. There's a book called Will It Fly that I've written, or you can take my course, Smart from Scratch. There's an exercise in there called, and that course is free, by the way, the marketing map. The marketing map exercise is so important. And as a refresher for those of you who may not remember or might not have been introduced to this, you want to discover the 3 Ps of this target general market that you're getting into, right? The first P are the places. Where are all the people at? where do they go? Online, offline, the URLs, the groups, all those different places that they exist online. Where does this target audience exist? Because now you'll be able to actually see where these conversations are happening. And when you have something to share, you already know where hopefully these things will be shared. Number two, you want to discover the people. Not the people in the audience, but the people who have already earned the trust of that audience. Who are the other influencers, authorities, leaders in that space? So we found the places. We want to make a whole list, no particular order, just any place and anywhere you can find. Use Google, use Facebook search, LinkedIn search, all the places to find all those places where people go who are in that space. Number two, the people who own the top Twitter accounts, the people who are, killing it on Instagram in that space, the people who are owners of Facebook groups, the people who have ownership of those websites and podcasts and YouTube channels. And number three, finally, the products that people are paying for, the products that are being offered, the prices related to those products, just so I can understand more about who and what is trying to service this audience and what's important, what's popular, what's not. That's where I would start. Pat, if you were working full-time, what would be your approach to transitioning from your career to entrepreneur? My goal, if I was working full-time, would be to, number one, try to find time in the mornings to make progress on my work, because you have more energy in the mornings than you do after you've dedicated that time and energy to somebody else's dream business. You want to dedicate that time to yourself first, much like how in the financial world you pay yourself first, and then you build this nest egg that can sort of just be amazing over time. And number two, I would go, okay, I want to find a particular niche or market or type of people, find one person who has one problem that I can solve. Start there, right? I don't need to build the online course. Heck, I don't even need the website or none of that stuff yet. If I can't focus on finding one person that I can help yet, then what's the purpose of building the website and going crazy with that? I don't even know if I want to do that yet. If I don't even know if this is the niche that I want to go down, but I have to find one person that I can try to help and figure out first, whether I help that person for free or even just for a little bit of a payment. That training of, number one, finding that one person is huge, with learning the language, where these people exist, how I might talk to them, etc. And number two, the actual act of helping that person is so much training, because number one, it's going to tell me whether or not I actually enjoy this or not, in which case, if I do, I'm going to have more energy. If not, I can say, okay, no thanks, I'm going to go back to square one and not have wasted time and energy on all the other stuff. And number two, if I did help that person, I'm going to have this amazing testimonial at the end. Wow, the coffee just kicked in. Did you hear that? So anyway, yeah, find that person that you can help first. It makes the search so much easier, if that makes sense. All right. Zenny and Vlada, if you were very shy, how would you approach putting out content, collaborating with people, and building a community? Being shy is not a bad thing. Being shy just means you have a different approach. So I appreciate this question. I myself am an introvert and feel that I am very shy, but it's when I connect with the right people that I start to open up. And I know for most people who are shy, it takes some time, or it takes the right person for you to then open up. And what I would do is just spend more time trying to create a good relationship with just a fewer number of people. Now, if you were an extrovert, for example, you could do the spaghetti on the wall trick and just try to build relationships with as many people as possible and just see who sticks. That's not the approach a shy person is going to take, because there's only going to be two spaghettis and they both might fall. So we need to come with a different approach of maybe just getting involved in groups, having conversations here and there, direct messages. Direct messages are great places to build relationships if you're shy, because you're not actually on the phone with somebody and it's in real time, and you can plan out what you're going to say, and you can connect with the right people, and you can see who replies back and see who you have a good vibe with. And I think that that's a great approach. In terms of putting out content, I would say that that's something that you'll definitely have to get over, is just your shyness. It just means you're going to put a little bit more time and care and attention into this content, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't put it out there. What it means is you're actually caring more. You're actually more invested in making sure this is going to hit home for people. So that's, in fact, your advantage. This is, again, how we're changing the story in our brain. Being shy means we're putting more time into this so that the people who do find this are going to find value in it. And also, you got to realize that when you create content for a specific group of people, it may not be right for another group of people. This means but by putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable. You're being somebody who is kind of putting a target on your back, because you're like, hey, I'm putting this out there, world. Let me know what you think. Not everybody's going to agree with you, and this is something that you have to you have to you just have to know that exists. So I'm looking at comments here. I just want to see, did I misspeak about something? So I was just seeing AV said, but he said both. What did I say both about? Anyway, and Xenia and Vlada, I mean, sure, you may be shy, but look at where you're at. Look at how much you've progressed, and the videos that you're creating, and not even in your own home language. I mean, you're doing all the right things. I would just continue to do that, and I would stay one ring outside of your comfort zone, if that makes sense. One ring outside of your comfort zone. Cool. Good questions, everybody. This is going to be great. Let's see. Let's keep going. If I had access to the wealth of information regarding marketing and entrepreneurship back when I first started, which ones would you have definitely added to your library back then? I would have done email marketing way sooner, honestly, especially now knowing what Facebook has done, Instagram has done, YouTube has done in terms of getting in the way of people who've said, yes, I want to hear from you. And then they're like, no, but we're not going to let you unless either you pay or you have the best algorithm supporting content in the world. And it's hard. So email's great. I would have done that much sooner with both my first businesses, the lead exam business, as well as smartpassiveincome.com. I started my email list way too late. And as a result of that, I was that much further behind. So email list for sure. I would have also, this isn't necessarily a marketing thing, but more of a time management thing. I would have been more comfortable, hopefully, finding other people to help me. I was so into, I wanted to do this all myself because of a sense of pride, because I felt like I didn't have that money to spend, but time is money. And I felt eventually when I started to hand off things to people that, man, I should have done this earlier for sure. Marketing wise, I would have gotten more involved with stepping into who I was. I was very much trying to do what other people were doing, or I saw what worked for somebody else and I wanted to do things just like them. And yes, it's good to get inspiration and motivation from other people, but I think it's also important to, I also think it's really important to, sorry, lost my train of thought. I was just looking at the chat. Getting involved with relationships, building relationships sooner, and stepping into who I am, right? I was trying to do everything everybody else was doing, but what makes you awesome is what makes you unique. And that when you step into your weird self, that becomes something that, you know, nobody can really compete with. So AV said, well, actually I was a very shy person and actually tagged you. Oh, okay. Got it. Cool. Dave says, when the time comes and you want to move on, retire, do you think you just pull the plug on everything or sell your businesses? Well, the beauty of this is a lot of this stuff is evergreen or can be evergreen. And so I would either check to see with my kids if they'd want to, you know, take over, or even one of my team members, maybe sell it off. I don't know. For right now, I don't imagine that happening anytime soon. But there will be a time I want to move on, right? I have aspirations to move to Hawaii, buy a coffee farm, live on the beach, and just enjoy life there. And my new business would probably be a coffee place in Hawaii or something. I don't know. This is just a recent dream of mine. And, you know, I can't do it all. But I think that each thing that I've done has become a stepping stone for the next. And of course, between now and then, there are some things I want to do in terms of education and entrepreneurship for kids and things and books that I want to write and whatnot. And so I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. But this is a great question because it makes you think, right? 15, 20 years down the road, am I still going to be doing live streams every day? Probably not. Well, maybe I'm on my coffee farm or something doing that instead. But, and who knows what technology will bring at that time, right? Heck, maybe I'll be doing coffee farm on Mars. I don't know. We'll see. But I wouldn't just pull the plug. I would leave it in good hands for sure, especially if it's continuing to help people. I think that would be my obligation to do that. Question from Boris. I want to start a 30-day challenge to help creators everywhere. I plan to use this form of goodwill to ask for a podcast review, a listen, and collect emails. Good idea. Anytime you offer value first and then ask for something is so much better than just asking for something. So I think if you can frame it in a way where it really does help people, 30 days, I will say, is quite a long time. because you'll see people die off probably within 2 weeks. So make it a 14-day or even a 7-day challenge. How can you help people within a shorter time period, and then maybe keep people going who want to keep going with you, but still be able to provide value up front and maybe even collect that review even sooner. If you had known how challenging and time-consuming it would be to grow your audience, knowing what you know now, what would you have done to make it easier on you? I would have just been, and I would have just had more. I would just try to have more patience. I think that was one thing that I didn't have because I wanted things to happen right away. And oftentimes when things didn't, I would feel like I was a failure. And I think that it was just a frame of the approach, and knowing that this is a long-term game. And like when you think about like how long it might take, like just specifically thinking about like $1,000 investment and how long it would take $1,000 investment to get to $10,000 or $100,000 in traditional means. Investing in mutual funds or heck, a checking account or savings account or whatever. I mean, it would take forever to get there versus taking that $1,000, investing it into something that I can do in my business or learn or unlock. How much more money can potentially come back as a return? I mean, the risk is almost more risky to go the traditional route and sort of wait for that money to come versus taking advantage of the opportunities that are there now. It's just that plus my perfectionist mindset that would often get in the way. You need to understand that you need to fail, but that experimentation is what can lead to some great results over time. So I think that when it comes to growing my audience specifically, I would have taken more risks. I think that's the one thing. I think I always try to play it safe. I always try to appease everybody and make everybody happy. And yes, I'm here and the brand is big and successful, and that's great. But I could have potentially helped more people if I did what I've been doing recently, which is really putting my foot on the ground with certain things and really going all in on things like podcasting or how I feel about social media or any of that sort of stuff. All right. Let's see, a lot of great conversation happening here. I was going to tell a quilting friend about that VA quilting site and found she already follows them on Facebook. Cool. But you see how Stephanie, she's just like so different than everybody else. And that's for April, actually. Happy birthday to my daughter today. Thank you so much. Pat, if you were making a podcast that wasn't a how-to or about a product or anything that people normally pay for, how would you monetize it? I would monetize it likely through something like Patreon or Supercast. Patreon is a tool that you can connect to your brand such that people can essentially pledge money or donate so that they can keep you moving, keep you going, like in like fan support, right? If you want to call it that, similar to a PBS model, paid for by viewers like you. This is a paid for by listeners like you, and depending on the level that you donate to, then it can unlock certain things. Maybe I can give special access to people once a month in a call for people who get to a certain pledge level, and that, in fact, is a way that a lot of podcasters who aren't teaching how to pay money related things are finding a full-time income. And it's pretty cool. I did an interview with Jack Conti, the founder of Patreon, as well as Tom, who is a person who uses Patreon, in that same episode, sort of a double episode, not at the same time I wasn't talking, but it was one that led to the other. And he is now making over 5 figures a month from his fans because they love the show and they want to keep it up. Supercast is sort of a new podcast-specific Patreon-like thing. Supercast is, in fact, a really cool tool. I've interviewed the founder, and what this allows you to do is to create specific podcast feeds that people have to pay to get access to. So let's say you have a podcast that's really great and you want to give, so for the higher level fans, access to more content. Well, you can have them pay to get access to that, or some behind the scenes things, or some additional interview, or some other information, but within a podcast feed. So it's not just like you have to give people access to a webinar that you have to get registration for, but literally people can actually subscribe to monthly a new feed that they can get access to. And this is actually something that will integrate with Apple Podcasts and other platforms that we all listen to. It's just a single click of a button after people pay that they then can download that information on their regular podcast platform at an additional price. And that's sort of a new way people are actually monetizing podcasts, which is pretty cool. And of course, there's ads and advertisements and those things like that too. Peasant. Bruh, 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 bruh.
Bruh. Bruh.
I'm not going to do it that many times. Aquanut, thank you again for that super chat. Let's see. Scrolling down. I love how you guys are talking to each other more than talking to me. I love that, actually. Jonathan, what would you do to facilitate technology to interview seniors for your podcast? And where would you search for seniors to interview? It depends on where or what I'm interviewing about. I think that's where I would start, and finding seniors within there versus trying to just find seniors. Now, in many cases, I would imagine there's maybe general topics where you can go to find seniors, and I would focus on where seniors seem to be, where they already have some technological experience, right? So I would imagine there's Facebook groups, for example, and I know there's a lot of seniors who have access to Facebook, who understand technology, who are a little bit more in tune to that. I would go to people who are in the podcasting space. I would go to YouTubers who are sort of targeting and also are seniors, and going there. So facilitating technology, I wouldn't try to do anything different other than provide maybe a little bit more instruction or even sample videos on how to do certain things. For example, here's how you get on a Zoom call with me. Watch this video. I'm going to send you an email, and it will include a link like this. Click on this link. It's going to ask you to open this file up. Open that up, and then I'll see you on the call. And if you get booted out, here's the thing to come back to, or something like that. I would just have a little bit more instruction to go along with it, and in fact, video instruction. I know a lot of those who are in the older generations like to see other people do things first. It's almost like their kids over their shoulders showing them how to do something. Like, you can create videos like that can help walk people through things. Crave Life question. I have a mental health counseling practice. I'm struggling to get more clients. Other than Google ads or Facebook ads, how would you promote it to attract more clients? So Facebook ads, Google ads, they work, but you're talking to people who are cold, or who are either somebody who has visited your page and then you're trying to get them back and to become a customer. If you have clients already, start there. Clients are your best marketing team because they can help sell your product better than you can. So they might have a friend or somebody that they could refer to, and if you haven't asked them yet, ask them, because that's where it starts. Number 2, I would say that you could potentially even offer service to somebody who has an audience and maybe do something pro bono. Hey, I'll help you with this, and if this does work, would you mind sharing it with your audience? If not, no worries, I'll do this free of charge either way. And that way you can almost get in front of these audiences with an endorsement from somebody. That's going to give you way more leverage. And yes, it does take a little bit more work. It's not sitting behind a keyboard playing with Facebook Ads Manager. It's actually you going out there and actually connecting with real people. But you're going to see that this is a theme, that this is where you get a lot of leverage, is with the relationships that you build. How can you provide value to another creator first, in exchange, have them give some love back to you? That's where I would be focusing most of my time. Let's see. Scrolling down. Peter, what is a KPI, so key performance indicator, for a podcast you launch? It is about and for our local community to connect with local groups and small businesses. Unfortunately, Peter, podcast analytics are pretty bad. So there are some things you need to realize. Like, we're not going to get much information other than downloads and essentially where these downloads are coming from. And that's it. However, with Apple Podcast Analytics as well as Google Podcast Manager, although they're not going to show you the total number of people who listen, because Apple's only showing people who listen on Apple devices, Google's only showing people who play through Google devices and Android, you can still get some information from within individual episodes. You can see within each episode the retention rate. How long are people actually listening through? Do more of the topics that people are more interested in listening for longer, do less of the ones that aren't. Try to see also within those episodes, you can actually see a timeline of how people go through, and maybe there's a drop at a certain point. Go back to that minute mark in that episode where people are dropping and just figure out why, and you can learn and infer from there. Now we're starting to get into YouTube-like analytics. We're way far from it, but we're starting to get there, and those are the kinds of things you can infer. So key performance indicator is retention rate. Am I continually having a retention rate that's quite high? And like I would say above 50% is sort of where you want to lay for sure. And that's huge, especially with longer form episodes like that. But if you can go higher, of course, the better, and do more of what's working and do less of what's not. And obviously downloads and trending upward is going to be what we want as well. So those are the sort of key things for sure. Now, of course, if you have a business on top of your podcast, there's other KPIs that you could be managing. For example, the conversion rates from number of downloads of an episode to number of people downloading a lead magnet, which then you can take them into a funnel. And then, of course, you get a dollar value per download after that point once you start to do the calculations. And then that could be the dollar per listener, or it's going to be a fraction of a percentage, of course, but it could be something that could help you for sure. Cynthia says, wow, Pat, good solid stuff. This is why I'm a super fan.
Bruh.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Wait. JT says, Pat Flynn, if you were completely broke, how would you start an online business without borrowing any money? I would offer, I don't have anything to offer, nothing I could buy, but I could offer my time. And I would offer my time to somebody who has some ability to either mentor me or help me put myself on the map or help me discover this space even more. Again, key theme here, conversations, right? These sorts of, Miss Boyce. Hello, Mr. Pat. Just want to thank you again for your commitment and showing up on YouTube Live. I really find your information valuable. Thank you so much. Can we get some more thumbs up, says GTO. Thank you so much. You guys don't feel like we need to either donate, don't feel like we need all the thumbs up, don't feel like you have to offer me anything. I'm here for you because you've done so much for me already, so I appreciate you for that. Don't feel like, like don't be disappointed if we don't get to whatever thumbs up number. Just making sure there's some value here. If I was completely broke, how would I start an online business? I would start by taking a skill that I have and offering it for free for other people and just trying to get myself out there as much as possible, right? The way to build the online business is to put yourself out there, get a name for yourself. I would, let's say, for example, I still knew how to podcast, but I didn't have any money. I didn't even have a podcast of my own. I would go to different influencers who perhaps have YouTube channels and go, hey, can I help you set up your YouTube channel? I'll take care of all the stuff. All you need to do is supply your own equipment, but I'll take care, and buy all the things, but I'll set it up for you. So that way you can actually just take the same shows that you're doing and pop it onto a podcast. I'll do that for you for free. And I'm going to do that for 5-10 people, again, for free. And over time, I'm going to reach out to those people and go, hey, by the way, if you happen to know any of your friends who might want this, I'm actually, been doing this for free for a lot now, but I'm going to turn this into a business now. I would love your support. And of course, you've already provided value for them. Now they're going to provide value back, right? Not all will, but maybe. K-Walk says, if you could have your dream podcast interview guest, who would you want to talk to and why? Thank you, K-Walk, for thinking of me during this Q&A. Elon Musk, for sure. He is my inspiration right now, specifically because he doesn't think anything is impossible. These things that everybody else thought was impossible to do, starting an EV brand, electric vehicle brand, having rocket boosters fly into space and come back to Earth, flying to Mars, digging tunnels underground and making it cheaper and actually, profitable. It's not profitable yet, but it will be. The impossible is not, that's not a word in his dictionary. So his sort of first principles approach, I want to learn as much as possible about it and apply that to the things where I want to make an impact, like education and such. So for sure. Sean Kennel says, Think Media shared his first YouTube video in one of his vids to inspire people to start now. Motivating to see him in the raw. No hooks, no bells, no whistles. Start now. In fact, yeah. MKBHD, who has 12 million subscribers, his first 100 videos were for his first 100 subscribers. Mr. Beast, who has just surpassed, I think, 36 million subscribers, his first 100 videos were just these crappy Minecraft videos, and some of them were just done on his phone. I mean, you just got to get started for sure. Let's see, if I was going to be on Twitch today with the birthday girl, what time would that be? Thank you, Dr. Joella. So later today, if you want to say happy birthday to my daughter, my daughter, my son, and I are all going to be on Twitch today at about 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We're going to go for maybe 2.5 to 3 hours straight, and that was her birthday wish. She just wants to stream and connect with people today and play video games. And so, and that's really all we can do because we can't really go anywhere right now. Plus, it's blazing hot outside. So that's at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be at twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. For any of you who know that URL, if you could pop it in the chat just so everybody sees it, that'd be great. Twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. You can come on, say happy birthday. I'll bring her on camera for a little bit in the beginning, and that'll be at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern for the birthday girl, 8 years old. How crazy is that? Stacy, if you did use Supercast for a paid podcast, does that mean you would need to keep your free podcast and just have select paid episodes? No, this is a completely different feed. So there's a number of things you can do with it, Stacy. For example, you could, and I wouldn't take away your free feed. That's not the approach that you would want to take with Supercast, right? Where it's like, hey, I know you've been listening for free, but now I'm going to charge you for this. So now pay here to get the continuation and access to the archive. That's not how it works. It's like, hey, you're listening to free here, awesome. But if you want something more, or the other show that I have that's specifically for paid members, like go here and click here. So it wouldn't be like select paid episodes. It would be a specific feed that they would get access to, and whatever you pump there is whatever they receive, right? So there's, I know some people who are using it in a way where essentially that paid feed is the ad-free feed, where all ads are removed and it's just literally the same content, but some people want to pay because it's just they're supporting the user and they're getting ads out of the show and it's not ruining the experience, right? So that's one way to do it. Or it's like, hey, you want to join the next level? Well, here it is, and you know, maybe you also have a community to go along with it where people can discuss it as well to be a part of the package, and you share where people can go in that first episode in that paid stuff. Sam says, why you deleted your old YouTube lives? I mean, I have most of my old YouTube lives up. Some older ones I just deleted because they're irrelevant. They are just noise that people don't need to listen to. I'm trying to make every video here on the channel relevant. And this is a practice that we need to do sometimes with our blogs, even our podcast episodes and YouTube videos. YouTube videos, you're probably more in the camp of keep everything up there as much as possible. But even then, if something is completely out at random and kind of not providing value, then why should it stay there? What was that podcast feed again? Supercast. Check out Supercast. Let them know we sent you. Cool. Good luck with Noah, Boris. Thank you, Miss Boyce. Appreciate you. Let's see. Just scrolling down here. This episode was so valuable. Thanks, Pat, and great questions from all you guys. Oh, wow. We're already. I'm so sorry. Let me answer 2 more questions. I have one from JT here. If you needed to create an introductory video for a startup brand on a very limited budget and had no video editing skills, how would you accomplish this? Number 1, learn very basic video editing skills. Number 2, I would try to hone in on more than like the style of the video. I would get into the story of the video. So that's where I would focus. Like, what am I going to be saying? How am I going to be convincing a person on the other end of this that this thing that I'm promoting or that I'm introducing is actually worth their time? I would go into storytelling mode more. And you don't have to have all the editing skills in the world to create something that can still be valuable. In fact, there's a lot of great videos out there that just literally are just, edit jump cuts, right? So you just hit record on that device and you're talking and you're going, and then you make mistakes. Keep them in there. Just keep rolling. During the editing process, you just slice that part out, and then it jumps from one good part to the next good part, and that actually becomes a very engaging video. And most of all, just remember who's watching and what you need to tell them. The objections that people might have related to this product, you want to mention those things. A story related to it or a success story related to it, you want to mention to it. If we are in the same space next spring, will FlynnCon be a virtual event? FlynnCon will always be an in-person event. We might put something on that is virtual, but FlynnCon is meant to be in person, unfortunately. Just with the way it's structured, the way it's scheduled, the agenda, how we provide surprises and whatnot. We could still have a virtual event, but FlynnCon is reserved for in-person. All right, y'all. We are at the end of our time here. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to get to your question or I skipped it over, but there was a lot of great stuff here. And this was a lot of fun. I really love the structure of this. Thank you so much. I love the way it frames it for me as a person who goes, okay, if I were in this person's shoes, how would I do that? And so I hope this was helpful for you today. A lot of fun. This hour went by so fast. I look forward to seeing you perhaps on Twitch later today, twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. Say hello to my family and wish my daughter a happy birthday. And we're going to play some games, whether you want to stick around or not. Doesn't matter. Just appreciate you so much for the help. And yes, so I think that question was for GTO has some, for JT, GTO has some great advice about the video as well that you can use for that stuff too. Cynthia says, can we buy your shirt? Thank you. Unfortunately, it's not for sales for those who get featured on my show, Ask Pat. Yeah, this was a great day. Thank you all so much for the super chats, for being a member here, for the support for teachers this month, for the support for me here, for the support for my daughter on her birthday, and just support yourself and your families and stay cool and enjoy yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're going to get into another topic-specific thing tomorrow. Today was more general Q&A, just like yesterday, but love the way it was framed. Thank you for validating that for me for the next time. And I'll look for some other fun ways that we can have some Q&A in different ways too. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go back and join my family. But thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. And as always, Team Flynn for the win. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy your Labor Day if you're in the U.S.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
You do need an income stream t-shirt. K-Walk, if you want to send an email to the